dodging like strays. Climbing out the gutter, I am real like the phrase. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the.
All right, welcome back here. I got my boy Willie, but today we're going to be talking about what are the consequences of young men being peer pressure. So before we get started here, how you feeling, Will?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready to get into this because being a generation ahead of them, we have more experience to give them a blueprint about what can happen. So
Mm,
I'm ready. Let's dive into this, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. This is a topic that a lot of young men, especially young black men, need to hear about the pressures about having peer pressures and just doing things that's going to ruin their lives. So I'm really
Yeah.
getting into it. So let's just get right into it. What are some of the consequences of hanging around the wrong crowd when you're in high school or even in college? Because you get bad people all walks of life everywhere. So we don't even have to just limit it to the high school. We could talk about college as well too. What's some of the consequences of that?
Some of the consequences that you will face is first is the destroy of self-identification. When you get into that peer pressure and something that you don't do, and then they keep pushing you into it, man, don't break. And then after that, you lose yourself
Mhm.
following what other people are doing, and then they thinking that they got your back. And then when something happens, suspension, getting arrested, shot, stab, rob, anything that involves where a possible outcome of you not making it out. That right there is detrimental as is.
And some people in reality, they're not even about that life. They really not.
Yeah.
Like they put on a good front, said this is it looks cool for the homies and the boys. I'm gonna go rob a bank. I'm gonna do this. You down with me? And they say all this to build up them, but they're not the actual. Sometimes they're not actually the ones that's actually committing these crimes. They're getting other people doing it because they're too scared to do it. And why would you
Yeah.
put your life out on the line just because you want to look cool and you want to look hip for somebody that's not even your real friend? I know a lot of the different examples. It was this guy that I was going to school with, and he was really popular, and he loved a lot of attention, and he definitely was on drugs because he was one of my friends, and this was the time where I was really young and I didn't know, and I didn't have a lot of friends that I could choose from, but I wanted to go along with him because I thought it was cool, and he seemed like he was a good person in the beginning. But then as the time I kept spending with him and I'm just kept seeing all of these bad decisions that he was making, it was one day I was sitting in the car and he pulled out a pipe. And that's just something, don't use drugs or anything, just so we clear on that. But it was like a green
Right.
pipe and he started lighting it up right in the car. And the traffic was full. It was on the highway and the traffic was just steadily going. And I'm like, dude, what are the fuck you doing? We're in the middle of all this traffic and you want to light it up? You need to hit that bad? And then it's just like, I was really nervous too because that was my first time ever being exposed to somebody lighting up a pipe right in the middle of the traffic. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go to jail if we get caught. It's just all of these
Yeah.
things that I didn't think about, and I didn't really get to know him before I got into the car and we're driving around and we're just doing teenager things. But I think the one good decision that came from that situation is when the cops did finally pull us over. They gave him a breathalyzer test to see if he was on drugs or something like that, or if he was inebriated. And it was like, sir, come with me, get out of the car. And I was thinking, I was man, I might go to jail for this because I'm associated with it. They think if you're with somebody that's do that, you do it too.
Right.
And it's really hard enough being black as it is. Yeah, that's another thing down my throat. And they're not gonna look at me any different from him, right? Because I'm already guilty by association just because I'm black. And so they pull him over, get him out the car, take the breathalyzer test, and say, "Come with me." And he went to jail. And they took mine, and I was clean. So I'm glad that they did that situation first before they just went on ahead and just locked me up without any evidence that I was doing that and stuff like that. So I say all that to say that you have to be careful about who you hang around with, because they say your friends is going to determine who you are as a person and how your life is going to be for the rest of your life. So if you associate
Yeah.
yourself with the wrong crowd, you're not going to know eventually who you are because you're so tied up in trying to please them and get them to like you. And you're going to go down the wrong path. So I really think it's really important for young men, especially black men, to take a look to see who their real friends is and who their real friends isn't, and really internalize everything, their own beliefs and what they believe in, so they can make better decisions. Because it's already hard enough being black. You don't want to be going to jail for something that you didn't do, or taking the fall for somebody else because they made bad decisions and they want to get you into it. So there's so many things to dissect there. What do you think, Will? Like, have you ever been with a friend that could have potentially got you into some shit?
Well, it's some experience, so I'm gonna say this. I was 17, 18. The neighborhood I lived in, because I'm a diverse person, so I hung out with different crowds just to see who is who, what they about, what they was with. The good thing about me though, everybody that I encounter with know the type of person that I was. I was observative. I was quiet. I didn't speak that much. But if I did join the conversation, I talked, chill, we had a good time. But at the same time, with me, it was still was this. I didn't fit anywhere. I still don't fit anywhere with any crowd. But I potentially still get myself involved just to see what's going on in the outside world and what's happening. But back to when I was 17, 18, the neighborhood I was with, the fellas, they were cool, hung out, chill. This is when I used to smoke weed heavy. We found our spots, we chilled, we did that, but we didn't cause no commotion, we didn't cause no drama. Now, this was this one time where I almost, friend of ours called us and he was like, yo, dog, these people at my house right now said they're gonna kill me. I was like, hold on, what? He said, yeah. I'm like, nah, dog, that ain't happening. So I got off the phone with him, called our other homies, tell them, yo, we gotta meet up. I just got a call, we on our way. So now we walk into the back of the neighborhood because that's what they was at. Somewhere something said, you know what? Whatever weapon that you have, toss it. Glad that we did. Because the moment we get around the corner, we about 2 minutes away from my homeboy spot. The cops pull up, stop us
Mhm.
all. It's raining. We were like, dog, we just walking in the neighborhood. We ain't bothering nobody. We ain't doing that. And he just stopped, yelling out stop to us and all that. We like, dog, we walking. We ain't doing nothing. We not bothering nobody. But cop got a call that it was a group of black people causing commotion. Who the first person they see? Us. Long and behold, we got the wall. Nobody got harassed. We was good. Now, when I thought about it, I didn't think about it at the time frame where I just put myself in a predicament where it's either I was going to fight, or if we do get in a fight, somebody's going to wind up being seriously injured. And I'm going to be involved with that. And I'm going to go down in jail as well, being an accomplice with the homies. So I say this to those, always to the young generation, think before you do anything. Don't let your emotions get you into a position where you may not get out of, because that one mistake can cost you your life. It can cost you a certain time frame about what you're gonna miss. And if you're on the road path of getting a scholarship or you doing something that's going to help you to get out the neighborhood, man, focus on that. Don't worry about peer pressure. Don't worry about this person saying, "Oh, yeah, well, come on, man, just roll with us one more time." That one more time can be your last time too. So
Mhm.
always think before you do something.
And you're right. That is very true. But now it gets kind of dicey. I wanted to get into the conversation of what if people are being manipulated, or they have something held over their head to get them to do what they want them to do. So, say if I'm in the gang,
Mm,
it gets kind of dicey now because this is real life, and you in the gang and you did something really horrible. you shot somebody, and they're using that to hold that over your head to get you to do whatever they want you to do. What do you
Hmm.
do in that situation? Because you're either not gonna do what they say, or you're gonna go to prison for going and killing someone. Even if you didn't mean to do it, you still did it. So they're holding that over your head so they can get you to do whatever they want to benefit them. What do you do in that
Well,
situation?
my opinion is this: it's a two-way street. Because if you told me about that and you instructed me by influencing me to do these things, you're still going down with me too. But if he gonna jump the gun first ahead of time, it still falls down as in y'all both still you s- it's still a lose situation because one, if you go down, you're the criminal. But it still also go down on him because now he doesn't consider himself as a rat. How you gonna set something up and then tell on somebody about what happened that you wanted done?
That part.
So now you got this choice right here. Either you gonna let me go, or I'm gonna let everybody know that you about to turn into a rat for something that you wanted done.
So the smart thing,
Or
should we record them secretly and use that as
I
leverage to
mean,
get out of it?
you can just understand this. When it's your words against the streets and you already know what went down and who did what, and then if there's people around you who knew the whole thing as well, and if they know who you really are, somebody will have the awareness to understand that you really didn't want to do it. So they're not gonna look at you as okay, he ratted. No, he protected himself because he knew that somebody was gonna put the blame on him. So while this fool still go out and he probably do it to somebody else. And that's the downfall about this generation as well. Nobody is safe from anybody when it comes to doing something dumb like because they always say the real ones are in jail or in debt, and the fake ones are still out in a lot. That's true. Why? Because the ones that doing the snitching and telling on the real ones who really was doing it for real. But now you gonna try to take that position thinking that you Mr. Big and Bad, knowing good and well you soft as cotton. And don't let that gun fool you because guess what? There's people who also got guns and somebody else who don't need a gun. Just straighten you out.
And I think that that's very important to understand. And the reason why I brought that up is because a lot of people are in situations that they can't get themselves out of, or at least they think they can't get themselves out of. So they have to get along. It's a lot of scared young boys that are in gang
Yeah.
memberships, and they don't know how to tell someone because they feel like they can't tell because then they'll snitch, or they would get killed, or they family members would get killed. It gets real in these streets. I used to
Yeah.
live around a lot of people that weren't good. When you in the hood, you get something nice, they see that and they coming after you. You can't think that you're going to get ahead of them because they're trying to get ahead of you. And they hold all of this stuff over you just to get what they want. But I tell you have to tell someone. Literally, you have to tell an authority figure. You have to get clever about things. You really do in order to get out of this situation. If you have to go down to the police, I know this might be snitching, and we don't do that in the black community. We don't do that. But you have to do this to save your own life. I believe me, I'm not never going down for somebody for what somebody else did. I ain't gonna never let that
Yeah.
happen. That's just never gonna happen. But you have to go to the police or authority figure or somebody and tell them what's going on. So then maybe they can come up with a plan to get you out of that gang membership or whatever you associate it with. Because there's some real life gang memberships in the hood, and they so deep into it that it don't feel like they
Yeah.
can get out of that. And that's why I brought that up because I know it's a lot of struggling black young boys don't know what to do with their life, but trust me, once you tell, you free yourself from all of that. You free yourself from guilt. You free yourself to have a better life for yourself. You free yourself to know that you did really good by setting yourself free from all of that. Because at the end of the day, They're only good to you as you're good to them. And what I
Right.
mean by that, you tell on them, oh, it's an even playing field. Then. They coming to get you, and they coming not only to get you, they go come after everybody else that you love. So, no, I'm not a gang member. No, I've never been a part of that life, but I have had friends that used to do stuff like that, and they tell me these stories that they're so deep into it that they didn't know how to get out of it. But luckily, the people that I had associated with, they knew to get out of it, and they knew to get help when it was time, because they were so deep into this, they was really deep into it, that they had no choice but to tell somebody else so they can get out of it. Because I'm not risking my life, and I'm not going down for what somebody else did. And I just want the young men to understand that part. You're never alone in whatever situation you're going through. It's always light at the end of the tunnel. So if you are trapped, if you are going through a lot of trauma, if you have a lot of bad friends that you feel like you're trapped, you can get help. And I don't want you to feel isolated. But that's very important. So,
Yeah.
and I also think it's really important that you stop being loyal to people that don't care about you. Because
Exactly.
once you dead, guess what's gonna happen? They're gonna go on and moving on to the next person. It's
Yep.
like when one soldier falls, they ready to move on and plan how they're gonna execute their next victim. Their next
Yeah.
fix, whatever they want, they're gonna get. So once you're dead and you're in the grave, they're not gonna care about you anymore. You was just as good as when you was living to them. That's all they cared about. And then after that, so you can continue to keep
Yep.
doing whatever you want to do, or you can continue to, or you can continue the right path down. Thank God I wasn't in that particular situation, but I've had bad friends. I really have, and I'm glad that I'm doing better in my life, and I don't feel like I have to owe them anything at all. Once you get out of bad relationships, it's gonna feel good on your soul, and you can start fresh and clean. But what else do you have to add to that, Will?
It hurts me to my heart because so many young boys and young teenagers nowadays have been influenced so impactful from social media to rap artists to movies to all these main media streams that put a fake image in them
Speak on it.
just because they seen somebody else do something. And guaranteed, as you see on the internet nowadays, there's certain rappers who wasn't even nothing like that. They was in college or they had academics, but because they chose or want to try to live a street life that they never lived before, you putting your own self out there doing something completely dumb. You choosing jewelry, money, rapping about the same thing that everybody else rapping with in auto tune just to try to make a hit, just because you try to pretend to say that you gangster dog. It ain't like that. I know OGs that told me some stories about when they was in prison. And I'm talking about old school prison too, where that was rough.
Mm,
So just bringing it up to now, and I know you've seen some of the video reactions where all these young kids now seeing the sentences that they get now due to the crimes that they done.
mhm.
They all getting 20 years and up and doing double life and 125 years. Then they want to break down and cry and want to say I'm sorry to the victim's family and all this other stuff, man. No, this ain't no game. Don't let movies fool you either. A lot of people don't notice that no more, man. Don't nobody have that self awareness to the point where they have to stop and really think about what they're about to do. What's going to change in their life forever? What is something that you are risking right now that can involve your family or your child or your spouse or anybody that you love? All because you decide to choose a path that you knew that you wasn't with in the beginning, but instead you decided to choose it just because you wanted this rap. For an example, for myself, I tried it at one point, but I didn't do it to the extent as that. Man, I mean, I'm a full gangster and all the other stuff. Yes, I'm from New York. Everybody know New York has a reputation, but me, I'm chill one that don't bother nobody. So I had to make that conscious decision. Okay, I'm hanging out with a bunch of other people who have different lifestyles and all that. but I know that I don't want to be like them. I'm cool with them because I choose for who they are. I look at the good in you, not the bad in you. People nowadays are choosing the image that they see and not really looking behind that veil about who's really there. And that's one thing that I wish that the young generation can see. Don't get me wrong, not all, because I mean, I've seen some news. I mean, young high school valedictorians breaking records. I mean, getting their scholarships and all the other stuff, they doing good too. I mean, you know, that portion, that one solid rock piece that we still got to chip off, but it keeps hardening every time because I mean, himself.
Yeah, and at your point, I wanted to just a little bit think a little bit more deeper about why some of get into some of these gangs and stuff like that. Some of them grow up poor, some really grow
Yeah,
up poor and they don't have much to show for, and they feel like if they're part of these gangs that they can help them get this type of money, need to survive in these streets. Like, poor, I didn't have a lot, but I would, in my mind, if I was to go and rob and kill and steal, like I would be going to jail. I knew enough to not do those things. But I get everybody is not like me and they can't think, go and do something wrong their whole life. But I the mentality of survival. I get that. Because as a black man, you have to survive. As a black young boy in the streets, you gotta act hard, you gotta act tough, you provide. And sometimes it gets even darker. Like sometimes the moms and the fathers might know about this, but they don't say anything because it's bringing them money because they need it. Let's talk about that.
right,
Like they need that dirty money, speak. I think that that's where mentorships come into play, and having a positive influence in your life is going to set you, the people that going through and those things. But um, before we close up here, I wanted to kind of get words of encouragement for Black young men because, good Black young men, they're doing their thing out here. They're going to college, going to trade school, stuff like that. But there's always going to be a misguided young, um, in the hood, didn't really have much, felt like they had to do whatever they had to do to survive. What can you give them any hope to know that things are going to get better and that they don't have to live in that lifestyle forever? Because they say you can take the boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the boy. So if they're traveling to other places, they still might have that hood mentality to try to survive. What could you say
right.
about that? You know.
I'm gonna say this right now as a 30-year-old, and I'm bring the camera a little bit closer so you can see my face. It's okay to ask for help. You're not weak asking for help. You need help. Don't be afraid. You're not a coward. You're not scared. You're taking a step into getting better. Help is always good, but be careful with certain helps too. But when you know you have the right help, you will feel it and you would understand and have the awareness of that you're moving into something positive. So please, I ask of you before you make any other decisions that may jeopardize your life and your future and the loved ones that care for you. Ask for, I mean, a counselor, go to a pastor, preacher, family that you can really trust and that's willing to help you. Ask for help because I'm tired of seeing young black men being locked up. I'm tired of hearing they being kidnapped. I'm tired of hearing anybody, black male, female, child, grandparent, grand. I'm tired of seeing on the news that somebody's dying, somebody's getting hurt, somebody's being robbed. I'm tired of seeing y'all fist fighting every time on social media. That is ridiculous. That's bad influence and that's showing a bad image on us. And we are way better than that. So
Yeah.
please ask for help.
And I'm gonna say this last bit: be the change you want to see in other people. Be the leader, not the follower. Be there
Yep.
because you want to see the change. Be that change. Don't feel like you have to follow along with other people just because it's cool and you know best friend. Because let me tell you something. Sometimes your best friend can be your worst enemy in disguise, and they don't know it.
Facts.
They don't know that. You think they're your friend, but when they pull off that dark mask, you see a whole nother
Mhm.
side. And when money's involved, they don't care. They don't care at all. So know who your real friends is and know who your real friends aren't, because that's going to set you apart from making good decisions in your life and keep you right on track. Don't like you have to have the hood mentality to say I need to be loyal to this one person my entire life. Because are they really loyal to you? Are they talking behind your back? If you was to get shot today, right in the streets, gunned down, would they be standing beside you? Would they be in the funeral home at your coffin? That's something you got to think about. On that
Mhm.
note, I thank you again for coming. We are changing. We've been having a lot of more positive feedback on TikTok. I mean, if you guys follow the TikTok or not, but hopefully you do. We've been having a lot of more positive feedback, and we are growing. We're almost at a followers on there, so I'm really proud about
Oh,
that.
man.
Yeah, and we're almost at like 162 on Scouts is another app, so that's a really popular app. But we want to continue to keep this going. We want to continue to reach out. If you know any other Black brothers that wants to come on the show, this is to my subscribers talking to you. Feel free to send them my way. King's Effect to the 225 at gmail.com. We gonna keep this pushing because there's so many Black stories that we don't tell on the news that we need to tell it on these podcasts. So we're gonna keep it pushing. But that's all I have today, and we'll see you when we see you. See you later.
Man.
Peace.
Dodging like strays, climbing out the gutter, I am real like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For